Welcome back, everybody, to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. I am Chris Witt, and with me, as always, is Mr. Adam Schmidt. Adam, how are you today?
I am doing fine, and so is the narrator that I have just off camera here. She's sitting with me.
I'm
I
just
don't,
glad I wasn't the only person that heard that.
I don't know if people that are listening to this or watching this are going to be able to hear that or not, but it's a new Zoom feature, I believe.
Sounds like Zoom might have got themselves in a little bit of trouble with some people not knowing they're being recorded.
Ah, you're probably right. Even though it says recording up in the corner of the screen.
Yeah, you got to have that extra little thing. So
Yeah.
now the blind people, now they know they're being recorded. All right, that was pretty crazy. I wasn't expecting a little lady to tell us that recording had begun. All right, so anyway, on the Nosebleed Sports Podcast today, we are back to Zoom because I'm out of town. Had to switch my days up a little bit. I apologize. We'll be back in studio next week. But I do love. I've grown to kind of enjoy the ability of the Zoom meeting, I must say.
Totally the same. Totally the same. And this was not your fault either. This was my request to do this special early week edition of the Nosebleed Sports Podcast because I will be leaving for vacation. If you're watching this, please don't rob my house while I'm gone. But going on vacation on Thursday, so Wednesday night, I have an early flight Thursday morning. So I was, we're up a little late usually when we do this thing on Wednesday night, which is normally fine, but I'm up extra early on Thursday.
So tell me about what you got going. Going to New York. What are you doing in New York? You got anything planned out? How many days you gonna be there? What's going on for the old vacay?
I'm there 4 days. Thursday, leave Thursday, and come back on Monday. And I have 3 reservations / tickets for 3 different comedy clubs. Extremely excited about that. That was the number one reason, was really to go up and specifically to see the Cellar, the Comedy Cellar. So I got a chance to do that. And I'm going to 2 others, and I have tickets to the Yankees Mets at Yankee Stadium. Pretty pumped about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got those days. So I've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday all booked up. Plenty of stuff to do with a little bit of time in between. And so I can make my way around town and figure that out. And then July 4th, there are no comedy clubs open. So I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing on the 4th of July.
I'm sure there'll be something going on in New York City on the 4th of July for you to go hang out at.
Sure. I'll find something.
By then they got so many apps out there. You can find you a lady, find you a little date. I see you got your hair did here. Got a little hair did before you left.
Yeah. I got a haircut maybe no more than 2 weeks ago. So I wasn't in desperate need of one, but I just wanted to get a freshen up, especially like around the ears and the neck and that sort of thing. So, and I did that just today, just a couple hours ago before we're recording this. And I got a long drive from work to home or to anywhere near home. And that's where I was going. So I go to one of the chains, we'll say, and I don't always get a great haircut, but I just deal with it. So
but there's a game on. You get to watch Sports Center at the same time.
You can watch a game. Yep. I was watching a USC Utah basketball game from this past season. I don't know why they had that on. Anyway, it was basketball, so I didn't mind. But
exactly.
I walk into this place. First of all, I'm driving. I check in online with the app. I'm like, I'm going to save some time. I'm going to get there just in time. Got a decent drive from work. Halfway through my drive, huge storm pops up. Everybody slows way down. So I got to end up canceling that because now I'm not going to make it in time. I have to wait until I get pretty close to where the barbershop is. I know you don't like when I call it a barbershop, but I just didn't know.
That is nowhere near a barbershop what you go to, but that's all right.
All right. So anyway, the salon that I went to, I had to wait till I got close. So I ended up doing that. It was fine. Everything worked out. I walk in, one guy getting his hair cut, girl that's cutting his hair. I've seen her before. Pretty cute gal. There's another guy waiting, and I only see the one girl cutting hair. I'm like, oh man, Is there only one person? They have call-ins or something like that. So I sit down, I check in, I sit down. A couple minutes later, uh, another lady walks out
Old
of.
girl,
So
old girl comes out from the back.
you had the cute girl, and we'll call her the other gal. Um, so I'm like, okay, so I'm like, okay, this girl's already the cute girl's already got the one guy. She's been with him since I walked in. I'm like, I think this is gonna work out. So
Yes.
especially because the other gal takes the other guy back. He goes back there, and she's like, the cute gal is like really talking this guy up. She's cutting his hair, and she's like acting real interested in his stories, and I'm like, okay, I got to get her. I'm going to get her. 10 minutes goes by. The guy that went back with the other gal comes back out. He's already done. Meanwhile, cute gal and the guy she was cutting go to the back for the MVP. And if you don't know what the salon is, that's not a gross thing. It's not it's not like it's not like the massage parlor that the owner of the Patriots went to or anything like that. This is a regular haircut place. You go
So you
go in
just
this back room
realized
for the MVP treatment, but it's not what you think. Okay.
you just realized that, as you said, he went to the back for the MVP. As soon as you said that, you knew what you had just said.
I'm like, oh, that's not gonna. People that don't know are not gonna think well of that.
Where are you getting your haircut at?
Yeah. So I don't go to a place like that, but this place does do the MVP. But it's just you just get the hair washed, and then you get the shoulder massage. Not even hands shoulder massage. It's a little gadget they put on you, and they do it for like 10 seconds, and that's it. Anyway, so I'm like, oh no, now I'm gonna get other gal. So she checks the guy out, he leaves, and I'm like, come on, hurry up. So the other gal goes back and starts cleaning up the hair from the last guy. I'm like, okay, take your time cleaning up. Sometimes they disappear to the back for a little bit or do something. She actually does walk to the back for a second, walks right back out, comes back up. Adam.
Best haircut you ever had.
So so I'm like, man. So I go and like, of course, like less than a minute into my haircut, the cute girl gets done with that guy. He's gone. There's nobody else. So yeah, so takes 10 minutes. She speeds through this haircut. 10 minutes, I'm out of there, which normally is a good thing, and I guess it was in this case. But I got my hopes up, and they were dashed.
So, question for you, because this is going to take the place of walking stories with Crack a Thug. Let's talk about getting your haircut with Crack a Thug. If Crack a Thug would have gotten cute girl, besides the fact that she was cutting your hair and you had to stare at her through a mirror the whole time, was there a move that would have been made?
Yeah, this one
on your end. Would you have made a move? Would you have made any attempt?
No. No.
That's what I thought.
No. Yeah, because I if she started talking to me, I might make a little bit more of an effort to talk back to her. But most of the time I go there and whoever cuts my hair, and I'm like,
thanks, see ya.
If they seem like they want to talk and stuff like that, I'll give a couple like short answers to begin with, and if they keep asking questions, then I'll engage and do a conversation and stuff. But yeah.
That's funny because when I go get my haircut, like back when I would get my Great Clips haircuts or Bo Ricks, because I always did the cheap son of a gun.
Sure.
Back in the day before I went back to the barbershop. So I'd have a conversation with every single person in there while they were cutting other people's hair.
Yeah.
I'd be talking so loud that somebody would chime in from another haircut and start talking to me. Well, that's when I realized I belong at a barbershop. I belong at a barbershop where I can just sit in a small ass little room and talk to every single person.
Yep. Barbershop's good for that. Not for me though. I go into the chain store. I go in there, one haircut, please. and they give it to me, and they say, "What do you want?" I say, "Give me a 2 or a 3 on the side, and you know what to do on the top." And
That's right.
I
Well,
mess the top up, I guess, is what they hear. Um, and then
yeah, why not? It's never looks the way you want it to look.
eh, but then you fix it afterward. You can always
But you
kind
know
of
what
fix
though?
it a little
But
bit.
you know what though? When Gene used to cut your hair back in the day, did he ever really cut your hair the way you wanted it anyway?
Yeah, man, he only did flat tops. My dad, my brother, and I would all go in, get a flat top, and leave. It was a
The crew
yeah.
cut and go.
Yep. Flat tops only at Gene's barbershop.
Gene's barbershop. All right. Speaking of the
Shout out
barbershop,
Gene Gabbard.
shout out to Gene Gabbard. Speaking of the barbershop, um, the shop on HBO, I believe it is, with Mr. LeBron James. LeBron has been knocked out of the NBA playoffs. However, we are currently in the conference finals of the NBA playoffs.
Yes, sir.
A little bit of a surprise with the Atlanta Hawks. Quite a bit of a surprise. Trae Young has carried this team on his back throughout this playoffs. They've got one win in Milwaukee so far. They are back. What is it? It's 2-1 right now. Mm-hmm. Looks like they are they in Milwaukee or are they in Atlanta?
They're in Atlanta, and
They're in Atlanta.
13 right
Atlanta,
now.
yeah, they're doing very well. It's still only halftime. We all know in the NBA, a 13-point lead is not safe at halftime. So that being said, with Trae Young out right now, if he doesn't make it back, are they done? Is this over? Did they have a chance? Even if they tie this up today, somehow pull a second game off and tie this at 2. If they don't have Trae Young for the next 3 games, can they possibly win 2 of those 3 against the Milwaukee Bucks?
You know what? They could. Honestly, I think they could because their roster's good. I mean, Trae Young's been really good, but they've gotten really good play from a bunch of guys. Kevin Huerter and Danilo Gallinari and John Collins and Clint Capella and a bunch of guys have really played well. And that's at the beginning of the season, I was like, man, I really like this Hawks roster. I just didn't think they were going to be experienced enough to make any waves in the playoffs yet.
They're very young.
But I do still think Milwaukee will win the series, but I'll tell you what, Trae Young being out, and really the Hawks were okay until he got hurt in that game a couple of nights ago in game 3. And then they kind of fell apart in the fourth quarter and he wasn't quite the same. And he was kind of limping around a little bit. So especially if they can figure out a way to win tonight and go up 3-1, they're still in pretty good shape. He's got a deep bone bruise from what I understand. So it's not he didn't pull or he didn't tear anything. He didn't break anything. Sometimes the bone bruise can be a little worse than it sounds, but he's going to come back. If he's 55%, he'll come back and play in this series. So I'm still kind of rooting for Milwaukee just because I picked them and I like Giannis a lot. And I do think they will still win the series, but I'll tell you what, they're up kind of big right now without Trae Young, and they're up 2-1 in the series. So they're looking pretty good still.
I tell you what, I really liked Cam Reddish out of college, and he's only played in 1 of the 3 games so far. He's already been in for 12 minutes of this first half, and if they're going to somebody's got to step up. I would love to see Cam Reddish pull something out here and turn into an actual, not a star, but just, give them that extra person off the bench, because I feel like when he plays, he gets a good 10, 12, 15 minutes in maybe, or he doesn't play at all. And that kid was so talented at Duke. I cannot understand why it hasn't transcended into the NBA. And I know it's only been a couple of years, but I'd love to see him, not even a Duke guy, but I would love to see him step up and do something for these guys today. And listen, I've been hoping that the Bucks lose because you've been calling this Bucks out, and I can't believe they beat the daggone Nets. So I'm just hoping, I'm finding any way I can possibly find for them to lose.
Yep. That's right. So it is, as you said, Milwaukee's up 2-1 in that series. Did I say? I think I might have said Atlanta's up. Milwaukee's up 2-1 in the series, but Atlanta is winning game 4 right now. So that's Eastern Conference. In the Western Conference, though, this has been really interesting. So Phoenix was out without Chris Paul for a couple games, right?
Yep.
And they won. They win both of those games, or they split. Actually, he just came
So
back for game. He
they
came
went
back for
up.
game.
They won the first 2 games. Phoenix won the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Which is that's just what the Clippers do. They just don't play the first 2 or 3 games of any series in the playoffs. Now this will be the 3rd straight series that they went down 2-0.
Mm.
They came back and won game 3. Phoenix wins game 4 in a low scoring game, 84-80.
Yeah.
They win game 4. And then Monday, Paul George, playoff P, actually had a phenomenal game. And they came out and won the game and without Kawhi, and he stepped up and did what he needed to do against Phoenix. And it is currently 3-2 in that series.
That's right. And you said the key thing here is without Kawhi Leonard. I mean, they've won 2 of the last 3 games without Kawhi, and with Paul George really only having a good game in one of those games. He's missed big free throws at the end of 2 games in this series already that Phoenix ended up winning. And he didn't shoot the ball great until yesterday. And he shot, you go from shooting like 20 something percent or whatever it was, 30% or something in the series. And then you shoot like 75%. He was like 15 for 20 or something like that for 41 points. And was outstanding in game 5. It still feels for sure like Phoenix is in charge here. You know, it feels like they are going to win, and game 6 is I shouldn't say tomorrow night because it depends on when you're listening to this, but Thursday night,
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. There you go. We always do this on Wednesday. I'm thinking it's Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So Thursday, I believe, is game 6. So that there's a chance that Phoenix can move on to the finals for Chris Paul's first time in the finals. Phoenix's first time in the finals since '93.
Charles Barkley.
Yep.
What was Kenny? What was that little point guard's name that played with him?
Kevin Johnson.
Kevin Johnson. Man, on Marley, on NBA Jam, Kevin Johnson and Charles Barkley. Get out of town. Top four NBA Jam team.
Cedric Ceballos and Mark West and who else was on that team? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that was so. But it's been a long time. Been a long time since Phoenix is there, and that's the other thing is. I mean, can you imagine if Atlanta and Phoenix end up in the finals, and Atlanta and they were probably the 2 worst teams in the league 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago.
2 small market teams with young guards, small guards, by the way, that are straight killers from anywhere. Those 2, Devin Booker and Trae Young. Trae Young, I don't like Trae Young's game necessarily 100% because of the shot selection all the time. I know he makes a ton of them. I'm not into that. When Steph Curry does it, it's like, oh my God, Steph Curry hit a quarter court shot or just pulls up from wherever he wants. And, that stuff gets a little bit on my nerves because I don't feel like now we're not playing basketball anymore. You're just throwing shots up. But if you're making them consistently, then I guess why not, right?
Yeah.
So that being said, when Trae Young does get inside the 3-point line or anywhere within the 3-point line, he can create for a guy who, if you tell me he's 6 foot, then you can, that's a lie. First off, unless you count all his scraggly hair that sticks up, he can create for himself as good as anyone in the league. And the dude can shoot the lights out. When he catches fire, you better man up at half court or 3/4 court because he might chuck it from wherever he wants and it's going to go in. I love the way he has played. He's taken on the villain role in New York in the first series, and he loved every second of it. He brought on the Reggie Miller-esque, you know what I mean, hatred from New York, and just loved it and just fed into it. And I think that picked this team up and gave them a different kind of energy that they probably wouldn't have had without him. And then you got Devin Booker, who's the silent assassin, who all he needed was that one point guard, right? He needed a true point guard to help him, because Devin Booker with the ball in his hands is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. But when you get a facilitator like Chris Paul, you can take a star like Devin Booker and turn him into a an all-star. I mean, I don't know what to go from a star to from you take a great player in Devin Booker and turn him into a star. And I mean, you know how I feel about Chris Paul. He's my favorite point guard of all time. I know yours is John Stockton, but Chris Paul's mine. So I love every second of what Chris Paul does on the court every day. He's got the best mid-range jumper in all of basketball right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just an old man that beats you the way an old man does. He beats these young kids the way an old man does at the YMCA. When you see that 60-year-old dude at the YMCA that just kills everybody, that's Chris Paul.
You know who I think of when I think of Chris Paul, though, especially the way he's playing with his mid-range game right now, being a really good, solid point guard. And this is going to be a weird comparison because Chris Paul is a Hall of Famer and this other guy is not. But I loved Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell was a super mid-range, 14 to 17, 18 foot jumper. He would get there, and he was just like a smart player. He was always like, coaching guys on the floor, just like Chris Paul does. And that brings me to what I wanted to talk about after we covered the NBA playoffs, which was some big coaching hires in the NBA in the last few days here. Just in the last week, there have been 4 of them. And unfortunately, guys have to lose their jobs or leave their jobs for opportunities for other guys. But there are this makes for some really interesting things. I mean, this almost feels like it's really like off-season NBA basketball. Free agency is super exciting. And this kind of feels like that's happening right now because there are some big name coaches moving around in the league. And there's one guy that that got, well, a couple guys, but one guy in particular that got a head coaching job that really makes me wonder what is wrong with Sam Cassell, because Sam Cassell has been Doc's top assistant for a long time now. And he's not getting chances to, I think he's interviewed for a few jobs, but he's not, maybe he doesn't want, maybe he's being very selective about the jobs he's willing to take or something. But Sam Cassell would be a head coach in the NBA as far as we know next year. But Chauncey Billups, who has 1 season of being an assistant coach under his belt, will be the new head coach of the Portland Trailblazers. What do you think about Chauncey Billups as Damian Lillard's new head coach?
I mean, Chauncey Billups is another guy who reminds you of kind of that Chris Paul, Sam Cassell-esque type point guard, right? Who was out there, never looked like he was the quickest dude out there, but was just smooth in everything he did. I don't like. That's the one thing about the NBA that is getting more. There's a lot of that happening over the past 5 years, where these guys who have never coached or been an assistant for a year, and they're getting head coaching jobs when all these really good assistants on really good teams and known guys, Patrick Ewing got passed up for years on the bench and interviewed for a ton of jobs before he finally interviewed at Georgetown and got that, because I mean, he's probably the greatest Georgetown Hoya to ever live. So
take that, Allen Iverson.
Yeah, well, I mean, Allen Iverson and Alonzo Mourning were phenomenal, but Patrick Ewing is Patrick Ewing in college. Anyway, I don't like it. I don't like it at all, man. I don't like I don't think in Brooklyn, I don't know that Steve Nash was the right hire. I love Steve Nash. I don't know that he was the right hire. The guy had, what kind of experience did he have? Maybe a year as an assistant coach, if even that. Jason Kidd, when he got his first gig in Brooklyn a few years before, it wasn't his first gig in Brooklyn before that. He had no assistant coaching, barely any at all. I'm not a fan of it, man. I think you need, I think doesn't matter if you're one of the greatest point guards to ever live, or if you are a really good point guard back in the day. It's different coaching players when you're on the floor and being a coach on the floor. When you hear that with LeBron and Chris Paul and people like that, being a coach on the floor is different than actually coaching in a game. There's a ton more that goes into it. And if you don't have that 4 or 5 years of really seeing every possibility of everything that can possibly happen in a game and having the knowledge behind that to go turn it around and put it into game form, I don't think that's the right way to go. Don't get me wrong. I love Chauncey Billups. Phenomenal on TV when he does TV, and I love the dude. He's great, but I don't know that's the right hire.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I don't mind. I'm with you in that it seems like there are a lot of assistant coaches that probably should be getting a chance, and there is one who's getting a big opportunity that we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, I mean, I think there are some guys who now. This reminds me, Avery Johnson once talked about, he longtime player in the NBA, wasn't a star, but was a really solid point guard. Good point guard. Was the starting point guard on a championship team. But he wasn't like the best scorer or anything like that. But he talked about for his last 8 years or something in the league, or maybe 6 years or 5 years, something like that. He kept every scouting report he ever got. He started preparing basically for that, to coach for his last 5, 6, 7 years as a player in the league. And guys like that, basically all of those guys that you talk about are guys that always seem to be, as players at least, kind of a step ahead of everybody else almost. Chauncey Billups, Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, those guys were really intelligent players. Those are all very cerebral players. And so it's not a surprise that they are coaching. I do understand. I'm kind of with you though on having no experience and it seems like bypassing a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
But, it depends. I mean, a lot of times it is about who guys have relationships all over the league. And that's what happened in Brooklyn. Sean Marks is the GM, and Steve Nash played with Sean Marks. So, things like that happen all the time. And, maybe the Blazers had their eye on Chauncey for the last couple of years and thought, hopefully he gets a chance to, a chance, to be an assistant coach. And, but he did. He was one season with the Clippers last year. So, I mean, either way, he's getting a chance, and he's taken over a pretty good team in the Blazers. They didn't do too much in the playoffs, but with a healthy CJ McCollum next year, hopefully a full year of healthy CJ, as long as Dame. Now, there's these rumors suddenly that, people like other players are trying to recruit Dame so they can set up a trade or whatever. But I'm thinking now Chauncey Billups going there, I would think there's some kind of relationship there between Dame and Chauncey Billups. So I would think Damian Lillard will stay. But they have a pretty good team.
I hope so, because I like the Dame's going to get his time, right? Dame needs somebody to come to Portland, right? So how do we get somebody to Portland? I mean, it's not easy to do, but maybe Chauncey is the answer for that. But I feel like there's other guys out there that could do the same thing.
Yeah. Terry Stotts. How about Terry Stotts, who has been the Blazers head coach for a while?
I don't know. Maybe that's not a bad one.
Maybe it was just time for a change. But so the guy that I did mention, who has been an assistant coach for the last, I think it was 9 years, after I think he played 5 or 6 years in the league, and then almost immediately became an assistant coach. Ime Udoka. He was the biggest thing for me. The reason that I get excited about him and anybody else, he comes from the Greg Popovich. His first 7 seasons as an assistant were under Greg Popovich. If you coach under Pop, you're probably going to be a pretty decent coach. I feel like, I don't know.
Absolutely. We all know your love obsession with Popovich.
With Pop. Um, he also, so last season he was with the Nets. The season before that, between the Spurs and Nets, he was with somebody else that is escaping me now, but he's getting an opportunity, which is a cool thing. So he's kind of paid his dues. He's been an assistant for 9 years, and he's going to get a chance to coach. Now, this is a big time opportunity. This is the Boston Celtics. I mean, this is one of the biggest 2 or 3 jobs you can get. Even when they're, somebody was just saying the other day, even when they're down, even when they don't have a good team, it's still one of the biggest head coaching positions you can get in the sport. But he also happens to inherit a pretty good team too. So we'll see what Ime Udoka does with the Celtics. Rick Carlisle was an assistant coach for the Indiana Pacers under the great Larry Legend, under the great Larry Bird for a few years. And then Larry left and Rick Carlisle became the head coach of the Pacers, was there during all the, had Paul George when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals a couple years. He was there. Rick Carlisle has been a very, very, very good coach. He won a championship with the Mavs, I think, right? Was that the year they won? Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Oh no, Don. No, that was Don.
Don Nelson.
Yeah, Don Nelson won the championship with the Mavs. Yeah, when it was with Dirk. Wasn't Don Nelson the coach then?
I think he was gone. I think Don Nelson was gone. I think Rick Carlisle, because I think it was even after the guy I just mentioned a little bit ago, Avery Johnson. I think it was after Avery. I think Rick Carlisle came in and won probably in his first couple years there.
Okay. I mean, yeah. All right.
I'm pretty sure.
And Avery Johnson was definitely Don. I keep wanting to say Don Sutton.
Don Nelson, yeah.
Don Nelson. He was Don Nelson's replacement because Don Nelson loved Avery Johnson.
Yes.
Anyway, Rick Carlisle is so. I see Rick Carlisle kind of like a Tom Thibodeau, right? Like you couldn't find a better coach to go coach a young, talented team and get the most out of them. You couldn't find a better coach than like a Tom Thibodeau in New York, what he did in New York this year, or Rick Carlisle.
Yeah. I look for Rick Carlisle to go there and hopefully help the Pacers take the next step. The Pacers seemed like they overachieved for 2 or 3 years there, and then last year probably underachieved a little bit. And
under the guy who is currently the acting coach for the Atlanta Hawks, Nate McMillan.
Yeah.
Which another guy who should still be in Indiana, if you ask me, it should still
absolutely
be Nate McMillan. They still have him under the interim head coach. His title is still interim head coach in Atlanta. How does this dude do all the things he does and not get any love? I don't understand it.
I totally agree. Nate McMillan is a very good coach, and he wins everywhere he goes.
Everywhere.
Take the interim tag off. So I'm excited to see, hopefully we get a chance to go up to a Pacers game again next year. And I did actually finally make one at the end of the year this year. Went up to a Pacers game. Fun as always. But next year, Rick Carlisle, I'm a big Rick Carlisle fan. I'm going to enjoy seeing what he does with Pacers. The last one I wanted to talk about was the Mavericks. Since Rick Carlisle left the Mavs, hired Jason Kidd as the next head coach of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, well, Jason Kidd is a phenomenal human being. As much as I didn't agree with him when he got his first gig in Brooklyn,
it was Milwaukee.
Or was it Milwaukee was his first gig and then went to Brooklyn?
I think so.
And so he's had a couple years off then. And then went to, or I don't know, maybe he was somewhere else in between, but
he's been the top assistant in LA, the Lakers.
Oh, was he with? That's right.
Frank Vogel's top assistant. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, good for him. I mean, Jason Kidd, that dude's phenomenal. He's one of my all-time favorite point guards as well, with Chris Paul, John Stockton, Jason Kidd. Yeah.
Same. I love Jason Kidd as a player. I'm excited to see what he can do. If he can do something any different to make Luka Doncic even better, or put him in another position to be even better, maybe he makes him more of a distributor. Luka
That's
Doncic.
that's where he should be. He should be in that LeBron James role, that Magic Johnson role. If he can figure out a way to do that. Oh, and if there's anybody that can do it, it's Jason Kidd.
Yeah, and I think I think Luka was in that role the last couple of years, but Jason Kidd may have some other ideas offensively that can kind of boost that team up a little bit, and kind of help him go to the next, help Luka take that next step, because Luka Doncic is going to win an MVP in this league for sure. I think it happens under Jason Kidd.
We said that same thing about Kristaps Porzingis, and Kristaps, all it takes is one or two injuries real quick to turn a unicorn into a zebra.
That's right. Mark Cuban said, Kristaps is who he is. We know who he is now, so we got to find
That's
it.
right.
That's it. He said we got to find a second score because Kristaps is who he is, or something like that.
Yep, that's the truth. It might, Cuban ain't gonna lie. So I gotta tell you this. So we were just talking about Nate McMillan, and I was immediately in my head, I was like, yeah, Nate McMillan's the interim head coach for the Atlanta Hawks. And I look at the TV, and as soon as I say that, he's got a shirt on that says MLK on it. And I was like, is he with Milwaukee? Did I miss something? And then I start looking, and okay, never mind. Every single jersey that Atlanta has on says MLK. Now I get it. Okay, never mind. Sorry. I got myself. I was a little nervous that I misspoke, and you didn't correct me because you're way too nice. You do it all the time. I say things incorrect, and you just let it go and pretend like it doesn't happen.
No, I said Milwaukee for Jason Kidd was his first job.
Oh, you did correct me there.
I came down.
Well, it took you twice.
I feel bad.
It took you two times. I had to say it twice for you to correct me because I had said it earlier that he got a job too early with Brooklyn. You're too nice. All right. Speaking of too nice, we'll see what happens next week. We will be in the NBA Finals, and that's when things get fun. So I would love to be able to talk about Atlanta and Phoenix in the NBA Finals. I would love to be able to talk about Devin Booker and Trae Young in the NBA Finals. That personally, to see a new breed of NBA come up, at least for 1 year, and then LeBron come back in and do his thing for the next 2 years, and then get the young boys back up. Maybe Luka gets one in there somewhere. But yeah, I'm very, and Antetokounmpo is down. This is not good. Giannis Antetokounmpo is currently on the ground. He has not gotten up for at least a minute and a half. This is bad. There's a guy from Atlanta down next to him. Everybody's got their heads up. They've got tears in their eyes. This is not pretty, buddy. I'm going to tell you right now, this is a turning point. We've got fans right now with their hands crossed praying. Okay. Anyway,
there's no way you're putting me on.
Well, brother, no, I'm not putting you on. He's still laying down. Giannis is still laying on the court. I didn't see the play. They haven't reshowed it. They are pulling him up right now, which is a good sign.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're not exaggerating about any of that.
No, not even a little bit. They got him sitting up, but he's still not up. Anyway, all right, so let's go on from there because I want to talk about our next point in this whole thing, which is something that we've been trying to do for a couple of weeks now. The Mount Rushmore of Chris's. And this is your Mount Rushmore of Chris's. You can put whoever you want on there except for me. We've already said you can't have Chris Witt. You can't have the sick-witted on there. It doesn't work that way because my nose is too big for the mountain. It'll overshadow everybody else. You'll never see any of the other Chris's. So that being said, Adam Schmidt, I am mountain on a mountain. I've called it my ski slope for many, many years.
Yes, you have.
Adam Schmidt, I want to know who your Mount Rushmore of Chris's is.
We briefly kind of threw out a couple of names or whatever over the last couple of weeks. And you mentioned a guy that I just forgot about the last time we talked about this. but he's number one on my list. Number one, Chris, besides you, of all time, is Chris Farley. Chris Farley's number one. I'm just gonna get that out of the way. Sometimes it's fun to count down and get to save the best for last. I'm not doing that. I'm putting Chris Farley number
I
one.
love it. I love it.
This was hard. I'm telling you, this was hard. I'm gonna go. You know what kind of comedy fan I am. We both are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm staying in comedy. I'm gonna try not to do all comedians here, but I'm staying in comedy for the next guy, and that is Chris Rock. He's one of the all-time greats. Every special, if you have not seen all of Chris Rock's specials, watch all of them. There's not one bad one.
Absolutely agree.
Um, just at the top of the game, Chris Rock is who he is. I mean, he made some movies. I haven't seen all of them. I never saw CB4, I don't think. And I did see Pootie Tang at the Danbury Theater. The Danbury Theater.
Real quick. That reminds me, I've got to look something up here. While we are on this call, Adam Schmidt and myself went to the Danbury movie theater in Western Hills in Cincinnati, Ohio. And we went to go watch a Martin Lawrence movie. Do you remember that?
Oh,
he had a dream and he became a knight or something, and he was riding a horse. I'm trying to find
that us?
movie.
Did I see that?
So me and you were there. We're watching this movie, and in the middle, twice during the movie, this is Danbury $2 movie theater. The movie just went out. It just squiggled. It just squiggled, and lines were up there and fuzzies, and then boom, the movie's back on. What was that called?
That's what you get for $2.
You don't even remember that, do you? I'll never forget that in my life.
I didn't remember that until you just said that about it.
About how it went out. It went out
Yeah.
twice. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I totally forgot about that. But I saw Pootie Tang, a Chris Rock, and had a bunch of people in it. Wanda Sykes was big in it.
Yep.
2001. That movie is 20 years old, and I went on, I believe, a first date to that movie.
Wow, nice. That's a good first date. I got to give it to you.
I took a girl to see Pootie Tang at the Danbury Cinema.
Wow.
I'm just gonna show you my left hand and just make sure that you see that there's nothing on it. One of many reasons.
Oh Lord.
All right. So Chris Farley, Chris Rock.
Great choice.
I'm trying to mix it up here. I got to go basketball player. You know, comedy and basketball are my two things. Give me the greatest basketball Chris of all time besides you, Chris Mullin.
Love it. Mullin. Speaking of crew cuts and flat tops, Chris Mullin, unbelievable.
Yep. One of my favorite guys to go back and watch highlights of. Just, I mean, I think people are aware that he was part of Run TMC, and maybe even know him from kind of later in his career. He was on that Pacers team that went to the NBA Finals under Larry Bird and Rick Carlisle. And great player, St. John's, Brooklyn guy. I love the accent, love the lifelong flat top.
The accent was great, shooter. And we got to play against him at Xavier. To get to be up close and personal with Chris Mullin at Xavier games was always awesome. He would walk right by where we sit. He's way bigger than you thought he was. I'm just gonna tell you that. Dude's like 6'7". He was way bigger. I always thought of him as just like a little small guard. No, he's a big boy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he was like a guard forward. I mean, he was big enough to play forward, especially in the 90s. Mm-hmm. But man, the guy could shoot the lights out, and I think most people know that about him. But go back and just watch Chris Mullin passing highlights. Just watch Chris Mullin assists. He was such a good passer, dude. Oh my God, so fun to watch. Anyway, that's what I'm gonna be doing as soon as I get off here. on this call. That's what I'm gonna go to bed and throw on the Chris Mullen passing highlights
Highlights.
and fall asleep to that.
Nice.
I think tonight. Um,
Nice.
my fourth guy. I mean, there's a few other guys that I was dying to put on here. I've got to get this, squeeze this guy on, not necessarily last. Look, Chris Farley's first. Everybody else is just, on.
There.
Chris Farley, Chris Rock, Chris Mullen. Give me Christopher Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd, aka Doc Brown, aka the bad guy in Dennis the Menace, aka a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of roles. He's always good in everything he does. But I mean, the Back to the Future trilogies are two of my favorite movies. The Back to the Future trilogy are two of my favorite movies of all time because 1 and 2 are fantastic. I never really got into 3 much, but man,
if you ever get a chance to go back and watch Taxi with Danny DeVito, Christopher Lloyd, that's one of the greatest sitcoms in history. I'm telling you right now, not the movie Taxi, the Taxi Driver, whatever, with is it De Niro is in that? No, with De Niro, not that. I'm talking about the sitcom Taxi. Oh my gosh, I love that growing up. So that being said, I will tell you we have two of the same. We have two of the same.
Okay,
Chris Farley,
sure.
Chris Farley, obviously we've already talked about that, right? Number 2 is Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, I got cold chills, dude. He's one of my all-time favorite people ever. The grossest villain you'll ever see in the history of the movies in Dennis the Menace.
Oh, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Also the
Who
villain
Framed
in that.
Roger Rabbit? Villain in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. When Good Ghouls Go Bad. He has over 200 acting credits. Over 200 acting credits. Unbelievable.
Coolest thing about Christopher Lloyd.
Angels in the Outfield. He was the angel in Angels in the Outfield. I pulled up every one of my guys here, and yes, anyway.
Coolest thing about him is now this has been a joke for a while, but that a bunch of people say, but he was either 35 or 75. He is like he looked 70 when he was 35 and then just stayed that same age for 40 years.
Yeah, in the sitcom Taxi with Danny DeVito, he was a young man. It was back in the early 70s, and he looked like a crazy old man. But also remember him from Addams Family when he was
Uncle Fester, wasn't he?
He was the imposter of Uncle Fester, right? He was the imposter of Uncle Fester. He might have been the actual Uncle Fester too. I don't know. But so many great movies. So those are the first two off of mine: Chris Farley, Christopher Lloyd. Number 3, I'm going to pull him up here. Number 3. I would do the impression, but I might be the only person in the entire world that doesn't have a Christopher Walken impression. Christopher Walken he was in 4,000 movies as well. Mm-hmm. That guy is amazing in everything he does. He can play the goofball. He was in Wedding Crashers and might be the best, the absolute best actor in all of Wedding Crashers might be Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken and a lot of things he does is unbelievable. Love Christopher Walken. Now, Chris Farley, I have decided I can't figure out if I want to put him at 2 or 1. I'm going to put him at a tie at first for my all-time favorite Chris ever.
You're making me feel like I forgot somebody big.
No, you didn't forget anybody. This is just a personal Chris that I am a huge fan of, have been for many years. Christopher Brian Bridges.
I know
AKA
Ludacris. I wrote him down as well. I knew you were at least going to have him on a list, whether he made the top 4 or not. I knew you were going to have him on there. Yeah,
Ludacris, and I mean, if he didn't do all the great stuff he did outside of rap, he still would have made my list because he is my all-time favorite rapper.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told everybody I ever met, he is my all-time favorite rapper. I could go over his list. I put his list up against anybody. I'm gonna tell you right now, that dude right there, Ludacris, Christopher Brian Bridges, by far, love that dude. You put on a Ludacris song and you can't not love it. I mean, there's no Ludacris song that when it comes on, you don't feel it. You don't feel it in your chest a little bit. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Blueberry yum yum. Oh, move, get out the way. Like, oh my gosh, just keep them coming. The whole chicken and what was it? Chicken and wings or beer? Well, I can't remember even what
Oh
those.
yeah.
Now I gotta look up his soundtrack because I was on Christopher Walken. But
Chicken,
anyway,
chicken and beer, I think.
chicken and beer. That's it. Chicken and beer. Yes. And my favorite, the Red Light District. That was my favorite.
That was
But
so good, yeah.
he had Back for the First Time. Well, Incognito was kind of what started it back in what started his mainstream, right? He had a ton of mixtapes back in the day. But if you go Incognito, Back for the First Time, Word of Mouth, Chicken and Beer, Red Light District, boom, 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 right there. 5 straight killers. Killers from 99 to
such good albums.
2004. 99 to 2004, you could pull 6 to 10 songs off of each one of those records. As good as it gets.
Totally agree. One of my favorites as well. I definitely turned into a guy that appreciated. I'm not big on rap anymore, but I like the guys who did like kind of almost did comedy in their rap. You know what I mean? And he was definitely one of those guys who put words together and did funny lines with them.
Yeah.
He
And
was
he could,
one.
but if you listen to his songs, it was a lot like Eminem, right? Where Eminem
Yes.
would have some of them goofball songs and then turn around and have some real serious stuff, right? Like, but he almost always had fun in them. And I mean, keep on going. Like, Keeping It Theater of the Mind was a killer in 2008. Battle of the Sexes, which had fantasy on it in 2010. I mean, it was never ending. And it still doesn't end. If he ever came out with another album, when was the last time he came out with a Ludiversal? Probably. Let's see. Yeah, I think it was Ludiversal in 2015, which was good. I mean, but this dude at some point in time, that's been 6 years. I know he's focusing on other things, but when that man comes out with one more, I'm gonna tell you right now, he's gonna put these young mumble boys to sleep.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. All right. Who else was on that list that didn't quite make the top 4 for you? Anybody else?
One of the top ones for me was Chris Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to put Chris Tucker on there, obviously, with the Rush Hour movies, the Friday movies. I mean, or the Friday movie. He wasn't in all of them, but he was in the first one, which was the best one. And then my sixth would have been Kris Jenner.
Kris Jenner. I thought about her too.
All right. So what about you? What else did you have that didn't make the list?
One guy that I wanted to put on there so bad, and I think I mentioned this to you, like there was going to be a guy that I think would surprise you. I wanted to put him on, and I didn't quite do that, but Chris Elliott, comedic actor. He's been in so many things.
Yes.
Chris
Yes, he
Elliott
has.
has been so funny for a long time, and he's almost like he's like a C-list celebrity or something like that. But he deserves to be like, he's funny enough in so many things that he's done to be
Chris
one of the
Elliott.
funniest. Hmm?
Sorry, go ahead. To
No,
be one of the funniest Chris's.
one of the funniest comedic actors. I mean, I feel like he should have gotten more chances to be like in lead roles in good funny movies.
So I believe he was in Something About Mary. Wasn't he in that?
Yes. Yep.
And his probably most notable role right now on Schitt's Creek. If you haven't seen Schitt's Creek, it's a really funny show. And he is the mayor of Schitt's Creek, and his last name is Shit, and it is absolutely hilarious. SCHIT or something like that. And I'm going to tell you right now, that dude is a huge part. Now, obviously, the family I don't know all their names, but that was the best. But he became such a huge role in that show, and that's got to be what he's most known for now. That was his biggest role, I would say, and he was amazing in that. And yes, dude's hilarious, and he's done some weird. He's been a weird person in a lot of weird movies.
Yeah, he did a lot of stuff, a lot of shows on Adult Swim, like those
Yes,
midnight 12:45, 12:15 shows. Uh, I love that stuff, and he was in a bunch of those things. He does weird very well.
yes.
He was in a show in, I want to say it was probably the early 90s, called Get a Life. And I don't remember a ton about the show, but I remember we watched it all the time, and like the whole family would watch them. I remember my dad loving the show, and we would watch it. And I remember part of the intro. The intro was him riding his bike down the street, and the end of it, I think he like was looking at something. Maybe he was like looking at a
He
girl or
was a
something like
paper
that.
boy. He was a paper boy.
Paperboy, that's it. Yes.
Yeah.
And he like hit a car and flipped over his bike or something like that. But I remember that being a really funny show. And that was the first time I knew about him, but he's made a bunch of appearances. He made a bunch of appearances like real early on David Letterman. There, you can go to YouTube and see he did like characters. He would come out as like actual famous people, but like be a much worse version of them or something like that. Like he did so many funny things in so many different medias and so many different, like outlets over the years. If you don't know much about Chris Elliott, just look him up on YouTube. There's a million things on there.
Yeah, without a doubt. And then you also have the newer guys, your superhero guys, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, Chris Evans, guys like that who are probably most known, but they're not making my list. They got a long way to go before they get on my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Give me Chris Webber. Give me Chris Sabo.
No, Chris Sabo.
Chris Paul. We already talked about Chris Paul.
Yeah, but I'm not.
Chris D'Elia. I mean, if you, yeah, he had a little trouble, but Chris Stapps Porzingis. Who else? Christian
Anything.
Slater.
I love it. Christine. I don't know.
Yeah, any Christine, really. Anybody?
Yeah, I feel like that counts too. But Christina Applegate could probably be on there. No, but I think we did. I think those are two good Mount Rushmores. We had two of the same: Christopher Lloyd, Chris Farley, without a doubt.
I'm excited about that, Christopher.
Out there, yeah, that was good. All right, so that's going to bring us to. I already forgot her name, Melinda
Hill.
Melinda Hill. So Adam. Well, you started off Mount Rushmore. I'll start off Melinda Hill.
Please do.
This
was your pick, by the way.
I ended up on Twitter halfway through, just kind of messing around, looking at Twitter while she was talking. I mean, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't great. I don't know. It was a little slow. I mean, it started off pretty good. I thought she was going to get a little crazier with the magician thing. She went into her like dates and the stories of her dates and I thought they were going to be like, they could have been really funny because I'm sure she made part of them up, or maybe she didn't. But those Match.com dates that she was talking about, I feel like those had a ton of potential, and they just kept on going, and there was no punchline anywhere. And not that I need a punchline, but there was no kick, there was no boom, there was no finish, I felt like. And it was kind of a bummer. I guess I didn't even know, but apparently, I mean, she made it a thing, but apparently she got a lot of publicity for talking about Louis C.K. or something like that. So, good for her for that. I could care less about that. It seemed like she could care less about it too. She just threw a random ass tweet out. But it is what it is. I don't know. That might have been her best joke when she said it's kind of like what'd she say? Sneaky and I can't even remember.
Oh, yeah.
She was talking about sexual harassment or sexual something. I don't know. And she was talking about how it was the same as something else. Anyway, besides the point, go on. I mean, you can go on and watch her. I'm not going to say that I would recommend her. I'm sure there might be some better, funnier stuff because it seems like she's been around for a while. But I gave her a 2.1.
2.1.
2.1.
Okay. Then I'll just start off and tell you I have written down 2.1. Let me put yours right next to mine on my notes there so I can add that to the spreadsheet later. All right, we both gave this exactly a 2.1, which is weird. But I think we think the same thing about it. The thing I take take away from this the most, I'm so sorry about your experiences with men. I mean, she hates men.
Yeah.
Gosh, she
Yeah.
had the whole thing, I felt like,
Mhm.
was all about bad experiences with men. She started the whole thing off with, wanting to, I don't know, man. I was kind of in the mood for joke stuff, and
Yeah.
it was more like a
It
theme.
wasn't.
It was
It
theme.
was a theme. It was definitely theme. There's no doubt about it. She dated she still didn't say who she was engaged to. And I even tried to, that's what got me on Twitter because
Ah,
she was talking about being engaged to an actor. And I'm like, who the hell was this chick engaged to? So I jumped on and started looking, trying to find it. I couldn't find it anywhere. But she was like, the hardest part about being engaged to an actor or breaking up with an actor is you got to see his billboard everywhere or something like that. And I was like, who was she? And couldn't find. I still to this moment can't find it. But I spent a good 20 minutes of her special looking on Twitter while watching it at the same time.
huh.
Like she didn't keep me enthused in one bit.
Me either. I'll tell you the funniest thing I thought she did, and people have done this before, is she would say something that wouldn't be like applause worthy or laugh worthy, and immediately she would say thank you, like she was getting an
Mm-hmm.
applause. I thought that was the funniest thing she did.
It was. I love it.
Um,
And it was the hair thing. And then she would say something about the hair thing. And she say, then we went on a second date and she pulled her hair back. Like, oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't deserve the hair pushback. I gotta pull the hair back. I did like that. That was kind of funny. I did laugh at that.
yeah, yep, that was good. Yeah, but I mean, it was just kind of a, the plight of women versus men kind of thing the whole time. I was just, I mean, I get it. Sorry, you know, sorry about the patriarchy or whatever. But
There's a lot of good ones of us out there too. I'm sure you found one or two. You just are focusing on the bad ones.
I, I don't know. Yeah, she's probably, maybe she's great. This was recent, right?
Is last year. Like I think it was the beginning of 2020 when it came out.
So I don't know how long she's been doing comedy. If this is her first special and she's been in for, 6, 8, 10 years, something like that, she'll probably still develop quite a bit. Um,
Mm.
and maybe she'll end up being good. Who knows? Maybe I'll see her in New York doing a set somewhere at one of these places I got tickets to, and she'll be even better. Um,
There
but
you go.
there we go. I think we're pretty much the same.
She's been, I mean, she's been doing it for a long time. The way that I was looking at this earlier, I mean, she's almost 50 years old, believe it or not.
Is she really?
Uh, yeah, and what'd she say when she was 21? Some 50-year-old paid her way into the SAG, paid her SAG dues, and
Yeah.
bought her some stuff. So she's been doing things for a while. I mean, she released several comedy albums, including "Accidentally Bisexual" in 2011. That's 10 years ago. "Six Ways to Bomb" on America's Got Talent in 2013. Television and film. Let's see if they've got dates on any of this. I mean, it looks like early 2000s or 2010-ish. She kind of tried to come onto the stage a little bit there is
Which
when she
means
started making
if
her.
she put out a special in 2011, she was probably doing it for a pretty long time before that.
Sure.
Um, so yeah. Well, all right, Melinda Hill. Sorry, we're just being we're honest about our opinions about these things.
Yep.
All right, next week, Chris,
What are
I've
we
got
what are we watching?
I've got a comedy special for you, and you will have a Mount Rushmore for me. So I'm gonna go with another person that I have not heard of before, or at least that I'm not familiar with. Guy by the name of Brian Garr. So on Amazon Prime, Brian, IAN. Gar is GAAR, if you're looking it up. Special called Jokes I Wrote at Work.
He kind of looks like Mike Greenberg a
Oh,
little bit.
I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, a
Again.
little Mike. I've seen this dude before. I've seen this dude somewhere.
Hmm.
Anyway, all right, Mike Greenberg it is. Or sorry, Brian Gard is.
Brian Gard is Jokes I Wrote at Work. It's from 2015, so this is like 6 years old. But I just ran across it and I was like, well, I like when we do new people we haven't heard of before, or don't know much about. So
it's a little dangerous going 6 years ago. A little dangerous going 6 years ago. It makes some of the comedy not always hitting with the up to date, but we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. All right, so Brian Gar, Jokes I Wrote at Work, and I am going with the obvious sequel to the Mount Rushmore of Chris's, and I'm going to go to the Mount Rushmore of Adams.
And of course, the same rule applies that I will not be eligible to be on this list. Not that I would be for anyone. All right. Mount Rushmore.
Do any Adams come to you immediately? Because there's one like Chris Farley that comes to me automatically right off the top of my head. It's an automatic. Yeah. Do you have any others that come to you immediately?
Yes, Wednesday Adams. Oh, and also Gomez Adams.
What's Shaniqua Adams?
Was it Letitia? Or
Letitia? Adam Levine.
Adam Levine.
There you
go. Adam Ryan, quarterback of the '96 Elder Panthers.
There you go. Yep. No, that was Matt Ryan. No, Matt Ryan was his younger brother. Matt Ryan was the quarterback of the 2000 Elder Panthers. Or 99 or 2000.
Matt Ryan is the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons.
Matt Glacken.
Matt Glacken.
Matt Glacken is what I meant to say.
Was the 97 Elder Panthers.
And his younger brother, I was thinking of because his younger brother was the quarterback or played something for Elder in the mid 2000s. He played for Elder. I don't know what he did there, but he played for Elder.
I believe you.
He played us in Holy Family basketball. We played his little brother in Holy Family.
Oh,
at Holy Family. Matt Glacken's little brother.
I didn't even know that. Or maybe I did back then.
Yep, it's been a long time ago. So anyway, man, Matt Ryan, Matt Glacken. Holy cow. Matt Glacken was a good quarterback, not quite Matt Ryan.
Nah.
If you're listening to this, here's what it
is. Yeah, sorry. Look up Elder football history.
Yes, exactly. He was a good quarterback. So anyway, all right. So there you go. I feel like we've got next week ready to go, and we'll be back in studio hopefully, and maybe we'll have some stuff hung up in the studio, so we'll be ready to go that way too. I don't know. We'll find out and see.
I hope to have some good stories from the road for you.
Oh man, yes, we're gonna have New York traveling with Crack a Thug. I can't wait. Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm sure some things will happen. I'm sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt. You're going to be in New York City. Are you staying like around Times Square? Where are you staying at?
I'm staying, I think it's technically in Manhattan. I'm not sure how close to Times Square it is, but it seems like a pretty centralized location. So it's like within a mile and a half or 2 miles of like all of
everything
comedy clubs. Yeah, that I'm going to and stuff. So, yep. The biggest thing is I have to figure out how to get from the Newark airport to the hotel. And then that's the biggest travel. And then from the hotel to
the airport,
the Bronx. Well, to go to I'm sure that'll be easy. So.
Yeah. Jump in a cab or jump on the little thing underneath the street. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. The old underground train.
All right, brother. Well, until then, don't forget to turn your headlights on. It's all right. We're still recording though. We got Adam with a basketball, but we're still